All right, what is going on, everybody? It is Adam JD Martin. Welcome back to Mic'd Up Millionaires. Today, I've got a special guest, the 7-2 real estate investor, Mark Smith Baez. This guy has given me the kick in the ass that I needed to get started on this podcast because I'd been thinking about doing it for a while. And I had an opportunity to go on Mark's podcast, which is freaking sweet, by the way. If you guys haven't been on Mark's podcast yet, absolutely get over there and start listening to that because there are some wicked people on there. And I think what's been really admirable, man, is I wanted to bring you on today because you've just been an absolute shark in the game for the last little while. And like, you're a dude who just like says what you're going to do and then commits. So welcome, Mark Smith, 7-2 real estate investor. Say hello.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no worries.
It's good to be here.
What's going on today?
Yeah, what else? What isn't happening, right? You know what? This week's been a funny week, actually. I had one of my properties, they found an artillery shell from the Second World War. So got a call, the bomb squad was deployed and that kind of stuff. And then 2 nights ago, we had a fire at one of our fourplexes. So yeah, living the life, man.
That's awesome, man. So again, I mentioned this literally every episode, and every episode it becomes necessary to mention it again. But what I really wanted to do with this podcast was to really have an ongoing discussion about, sort of celebrating capitalism, but also talking about the other things too. So like, what does it take to get there? What does it take to get to wealth? What does it take to build out businesses? What are the things that drive and motivate people? And what are the discussions around that we should be having? And yesterday I had on Rocky Garza. So I'm about to launch that episode. And this man is very interesting. We talked quite a lot about identifying our own core competencies and core values and really aligning ourselves with what we should truly be doing with our lives and becoming comfortable with the idea that there's peaks and valleys and there's always tension pulling us in any one direction as to what we should be approaching, whether that's business, all in on family, some sort of balance in between there. Of course, we were kind of making fun of the word balance because we're almost never truly in any kind of balance. And we really had a discussion about like, how do you identify what are the things that are important to you? And I think it's a really interesting time for you right now. So anybody that doesn't know Mr. Mark Smith, 7-2 real estate investor, he is a real estate investor in the same city as myself here in London, Ontario. And recently he's had some freaking crazy things going on in some of his portfolio and some of his properties. And I wondered, like, I think in those moments where you're getting the bomb squad deployed to your property, you're getting fires inside your building, things are going wrong inside the portfolio or inside your business. Like, is this a cause for reflection as to whether or not it's worth doing what you're doing? Or like, what kind of questions are you asking as these problems are coming up?
You know what? That's a great question. That's a great question. And I'm looking forward to watching your episode with Rocky Garza. He's just a freak as well. You know what? When I got that phone call from my contractor and then the cops and that kind of stuff, I'm in a zone right now. Like, I'm in this fucking zone. Like, my pupils are fixed. They're like dilated. I'm in this zone right now. And when I got that call, it was like, okay, now what? Okay, well, you have to come here. Okay. I go to the cops. I'm like, okay, I'm here. What do I got to do? And they go, we got to wait for the bomb squad. I go, do I have to be here for this? And they're like, no. Okay, you know what? And the old me would have been like having a freaking panic attack, but I've been so focused on my personal development, it's all noise. I'm like, okay, is anybody going to get hurt? No. Okay, then we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I got insurance. If the place blows up, hey, it's a great story to tell. As horrible as it sounds, but as long as no one is hurt, that's my biggest thing. When that fire happened, same thing. Got a call. What do we got to do? Is anybody hurt? No. Okay, we'll get this figured out. The old me would have had probably a panic attack. So I've just focused so heavily on my personal development and my, like, just what I'm doing. Like, I'm actually fucking scared about the zone I'm in, and not scared with respect to how it's going to be dangerous, but scared is like I've just unleashed the dragon when it comes to the beast, right?
Yep.
So, and this whole potential side, It's crazy. It's crazy. I just don't know how to explain it, man. Like I'm now seeing like it's like 6 months ago, I would have said this is bullshit, man. Like this is all this kumbaya around a campfire and these fucking hippies and that kind of stuff. I've come to realize, no, this is not. This is like you're so dialed in, and now I'm actually starting to see things come to fruition. Like it's separating from the weeds now, and the weeds are now coming down, and things I'm getting a lot more clarity and my self-awareness, and shit is just happening.
Dude, you're living with conviction.
Yeah.
You're living to your purpose, right? Mm-hmm. I found that when we're really dialed in on our why, when we really know what we want to do, and when we're sure about where we want to go, if we know the end point and we know we truly and like we really actually want to get there, and by end point, I don't mean some fixed kind of goal. Like I don't mean like, you know, buy a mansion or whatever, some stupid thing. I mean like where we want to truly go, the path. Once you're on the path, man, it is really hard to get pulled off there when you're dialed in. So that's one of the conversations. Like I'm actually, we're both right now at the same point, I think. I am so fucking on right now. It's not even funny. Nothing can faze me. There's literally nothing, right? We talked about that recent failure of mine with the joint venture partners and the deal that went kind of sideways on your podcast. So if anybody hasn't heard that podcast, go and listen to it, because we really take a vulnerable moment to think about like, hey, are we perfect? Absolutely not. But with both of us on the path, man, it is literally like being indestructible. Like there's nothing that can faze us, right? Like I have all sorts of issues and things come up throughout my day that can easily pull my attention or pull my mood down. And what happens is you become unproductive and distracted. And I've literally been so focused and so honed in that like everything is washing off of me right now like water on a duck's back. And it's actually, it's such an invigorating feeling when you're like, and this is after coming, and I talked about this a bit with Rocky, this is coming out from like the pandemic kind of slump where like I was drinking too much, probably oversleeping, overeating, eating crazy shit. And here I am back at the mansion, back with my team, back with my family, basically my other family. And I'm eating well, I'm sleeping well, and I've got really good habits baked in. So every morning up at 6 a.m., working out at 7 a.m., team meeting at 8 a.m., one-on-ones at 9 a.m. Right after that, I go into like work time, like hard work on my vital priorities and really focusing on those things that matter most for us to make money in the business. And then immediately after that, I have like a bit of a white space where here we are randomly. Hey, Mark, when are you coming on the podcast, dude? Oh, dude, I'm free today. Okay, sweet. What about right now? Oh my, yeah, let's do it. Okay, let me grab a glass of water and we'll hit it up. And like when you're living like that, where you understand, again, this is going back to that discipline equals freedom element where like, hey, we both have some white space here. We know we've already gotten done what we needed to get done for the morning, and we know what our afternoon looks like. Why not jump onto a podcast or do some other thing where like for both of us, I think the podcast is as much of a passion project as it is like a brand building tool and a way to have impact, right? Like, you know, impact people's lives and build better and stronger connections. But ultimately, like, you know, this isn't a high ROI in the short term. But if you can do all those other things and you're hitting it on everything else, and then you can like make the time for these passion projects, I think that's how we stay in this sustainably. What do you think about sustainability? Because I think there's people out there, we got into a little bit on the last one about like this idea of work-life balance and whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. Yeah. Pretty sure that's not a real thing. I'm pretty sure you got to do it like this, where you're just hustling your ass off, but you're also super passionate and in line with those things that you're hustling on. So go ahead.
Absolutely. No, I love what you said there. I mean, the first thing is, you know, and it's determining your why, right? And this week's been a very interesting week for me because I've had a lot of self-realizations and becoming more and more self-aware. And what the why I thought I had is I may have to really do it. I'm going to have to do a deep dive on that. The one thing I am 150% sure of is I am not going fucking back.
Yeah, dude.
No fucking way that's going to happen. Right? And when I say this, I got chills down my back because I'm not fucking going back. Right? And so that's the first thing. Second thing is balance. Yes. you know, there's always this, where this fucking balance comes from. I mean, when the cavemen are out there hunting for whatever and they're not gone for 3-4 days, they're not saying, oh, now I got to get time in here, whatever. Everybody knew their fucking roles. But then you have people that have come out and there has to be this work-life balance. Well, what is work-life balance? Because, for example, I look at my children and I can say, okay, I need to give them 50% of my time. My kids are like, no fucking way, Dad. Like, just
get out of here.
Shoot some ball with us. And then they got their fix done, right? So it's, the key thing is that anything in your life, you have to, it's your non-negotiables, right? So I have a non-negotiable for my business. These things have to fucking happen today. I am not going to bed until these are done. Like, I'm an overachiever that way. I mean, and so that has to happen. I mean, on my non-negotiables, I have to spend X amount of time or spend time with certain, if it's the children, if it's with my spouse or what have you. I have to make sure I'm getting my personal development time in. I have to make sure I'm getting my exercise in. Until all those have the check boxes, my day's not done.
Yeah, absolutely,
my day is not done. So it's a balance in every regard of my life. So I'm talking about work-life balance. No, it's no work-life balance bull fucking shit. It's balance of, there's this, Sean Whalen calls it the core four. Okay, the core four. So your power. So power is your body. Okay. Second is going to be your passion. That's focusing on your relationships, right? Number 3 is going to be focusing on your purpose, which is your mindset. And then 3 is your productivity, which is focusing on the business. Those are the 4 elements on a day-to-day basis that have to be taken care of, non-negotiable. If any of these are forgotten, forget it. They linger.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about that concept is most likely you need to be really focused on the idea that those are real things you need to be conscious of, because I can see how really easily it's easy to forget about any one of those 4. Okay. The power, how easy is it to forget about your body? Dude, that's an everyday thing, but it's also unfortunate, like fortunately and unfortunately, that's like a multiple times a day thing, right? You've got to think about your body in the morning when you're waking up. What are you doing? Are you getting that water? Are you staying hydrated? Are you going to eat the right things? Are you going to make the decision to eat breakfast? If you do make that decision, what kind of fuel are you putting in? What kind of power is that going to result in? At lunchtime, we got to make a decision again. Are we going to do it? In between those hours, we also had to sit at a desk for a lot of us, and we were doing our work and we were there. And the culture is that every time we're there, we're having coffee. What are we putting in the coffee? When you make that decision, okay, do you follow that up with the snack? Somebody brought muffins, somebody brought donuts. There's shit in the office. Everybody's eating it. I might as well jump on. After that, you go out for lunch. What are you going to eat? Are you going to have some alcohol at lunch? If you do, fine, no problem. But how much and to what extent, and what are we doing to make sure we're living healthily outside of that? And then again, boom, snacking in the afternoon, evening. What are you doing while you're sitting down at the end of the day? Are we getting into the late night snacks again? That's just food, right? That we're not even talking about exercise. We're talking about like all the temptations and shit that gets put in front of us in terms of food and diet. Now we got to talk about exercise. Right? Are we going to actually move our body, and how much are we going to do that? And what's our capability today? And do we seek to improve it? It's a sliding metric. It's a sliding scale that I think people get chipped away at every day, because every single decision will add up to a sum, right? It's all totaling at the bottom of the column.
It's all compounding, man. It's always compounding.
Well, and this is just talking about the power part.
Yeah.
What about the mindset? What about the relationships? What about the business, right? All of those things have the same level of decision making built in. And I think what people really need to hear, and I wish I knew this earlier, is like, you absolutely can afford to fuck up, because you've got a huge bank of good decisions. Had you been making good decisions before then, you've built up a balance, right? I like to look at this as a bank balance. You've got a huge balance of positive money in there. You're in the black. But like, as soon as you start letting it slide, it eats away. It's like anything. It's a negative cash flow, right? So I really love that idea that there's these 4 kind of core tenets that we have to pay attention to. But I really just do want to draw attention to it. I think that is like a very conscious effort that we need to put forth. Like, which of the 4 am I lacking on today? Because most certainly it'll happen, right? Like today, I'm getting my relationship in by reaching out to you. But it was just as easy to maybe, you know what, I'll just have lunch and fill the fill the space up with some food or whatever else it is that we could have been doing today, but we made time for this, which is fantastic. Okay, that's one bucket, or like one of the good positive decisions in that bucket. I also did some like a bit of charity this morning, which is like fantastic, right? I'm looking out for somebody else that was trying to get after something. So I'm like, okay, perfect. I think I can make a move on their behalf. So that's amazing. But like business and everything else, like, it's so easy to let this stuff slide. How do you keep this in check? And actually, one second, just before I get started.
Yeah, sure.
I because I'm going to forget about it and I want to get it out there. Matt McKeever, my mentor, one of the best at doing this, because not only does he use his calendar to do this, but then this morning I noticed him doing something so fascinating. He's using painter's tape, okay, green painter's tape, all over the fucking place in weird ways, okay? And one of the things is I closed the door to our meeting this morning. We had a meeting, and I closed the door, and there's painter's tape on the door handle. And I made a joke. I'm like, what is this, COVID protection here? And he goes, no, it's a physical cue. And I said, holy shit. It worked on me. I noticed right away, there's tape on this door. And what that was is just breaking the cycle of whatever he was going to do next. Why am I leaving this room? Am I being intentional? Am I using my time appropriately? Are the things I could be doing better with my time? What am I forgetting about, right? All those little things, really cool, really simple solution. Put some goddamn tape on the door. Put some tape. He said he started this with his fridge, with his refrigerator. Why am I eating right now? Am I bored, right? Or am I true? Is it time, right? So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to get that out because that was a cool thing. So what do you do to keep this stuff on top of mind?
So, Matt McKeever is also one of my mentors as well. I'm blessed. I have 5 coaches right now, and I'm growing my coaches. This is, as much as it can be seen as easy, it's just as hard. Okay. It's so easy to not do this and say, I'll do it tomorrow, do it tomorrow. So it's discipline, and the discipline is what's going to create these healthy habits. So through my mastermind, and we created these accountability calls, and it was nice because when your brain is spinning at such an accelerated rate, things will get forgotten. Things will be done half-ass. So created a simple spreadsheet, and basically you have your non-negotiables. So what are you going to do? So for example, when we talk about productivity or business, that is revenue. What are you doing today to drive revenue? Okay. Like, that's a key thing. It's revenue. Then you have, and that's going to be your money sheet. Okay. And then we have our parking lot. Our parking lot is something that's important, but can wait. For example, for me, doing my podcast is very important to me. It doesn't drive revenue, but it's important to me because part of my why of saying I'm not fucking going back, and part of my personal mission is to help others achieve their dreams with real estate investing, and showing them, hey, we're all humans. I mean, fuck, I spent a night behind in a slammer, and we could talk about that later on. I've had the highs, I've had the lows. So I have that parking lot. And then I have a box for relationships. So in that box, I put down, what is my intention for relationship? I can easily say, I'm going to hang out with the kids. That's not fucking good enough. What am I going to do? Okay. The next one I have on there is my exercise. What have I done? So I put my exercise, yes or no. It's a simple checkbox. Okay. I'm doing my intermittent fasting, checkbox. Have I been doing it? Okay. And then the next thing is the mindset. So going back to purpose, what am I doing with that? So with that, I have, I read 10 pages this morning. I listened to an Audible, and part of my walk, I'm listening to motivational, videos and recordings. So I'm checking those boxes off I go. And a lot of people will say, well, I don't have fucking time. Yeah, jackass, you have time. Everybody has the same fucking time in a day. That's bullshit. Yeah. Everybody has the same amount of time. I don't give a fuck who you are. I got 24 hours, you got 24 hours. It's what you do in the bookends, right? What are you doing in those 24 hours? And if we say if you want to be successful with losing weight, you want to write down, what you're putting in your body during the day. Well, if you want to be successful with time management, write down exactly what the fuck you're doing every day. And you're going to find out how much crap there is. It's unbelievable. This took discipline, Adam. This was tough for me. And now I'm looking at this and saying, holy shit, I got so much more time.
Right?
I
Isn't
got
it
so much
crazy
more time.
too? The more you work, the more you realize that there actually is like a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot. If you start living in 15-minute intervals, like dude, there's a lot of 15-minute intervals.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can legit stack so much into a day to the point where absolutely you can have everything without necessarily sacrificing or thinking of things as a sacrifice. It's like, no, what we're actually doing is we're sliding on the scale of priority, how much priority we're giving to these specific tasks on this day, right? Because tomorrow might have different priorities, but that's fine. And as long as we know what we want to achieve, we know where we're trying to go, it's very easy to like build the map there, but you got to know where you're trying to go. Because I think a lot of what we're talking about really does require knowing what you want, right? If you don't know that you want family, or you don't know that you want your business to go to some level, if you don't know that you want to be fit, and then I guess the next piece of this is like, do you actually want it? So like, if you want it, like how bad, right? Because I think time is all a matter of priority. And I see this all the time. I don't have time. And I'm like, okay, walk me through your day, like hour to hour. And most people can kind of do that. Okay, break it down half an hour by half an hour. And like far less people can do that. And then if they really do and they really try and they write it down, or they really are conscious of it for a day, it's like, holy shit, I've wasted 4 hours. Like I actually just made 4 hours. And it's like, yeah, but that's 4 hours out of the 16 that you're supposed to be awake, right? If you're sleeping a decent amount, 7 or 8 hours or 6 hours, whatever, you're only up for so many hours. So a 4-hour bump in time available is extraordinary. And then you start going back to the calendar and thinking, you know what? First principles. Why am I doing anything, right? Why do I do anything that I do? Does it actually contribute to the main goal? Or is it something I told myself contributes to the main goal, but now I'm seeing that my action is not resulting in the things that are going to get me closer to that? And I think that that's a really interesting concept too, because I'm sure there's all sorts of people out there that are aware that in their corporate culture, that in their normal lives, that in, you know, day-to-day connections, they're like, this fucking, it's a classic meme, like this phone call could have been an email, right? This is some shit that I could have ignored and just not done, and nothing would happen. And I find I often do this too with the little fires that come up in my life. I feel like most of them, I just let them sit 24 hours and they go out, they extinguish themselves. And it's like, oh, I didn't need to be part of that. And that was just a big distraction, not part of my vital priorities. Let it burn out. And if it is actually as bad as they think, and it's really a fire, guess what? Fires like to fucking burn. It'll burn up. It'll burn heavy, and then you have to go and put it out. So it's interesting, man. Like, and so how do you, because I know like you're a family man, right? Which is something that is different for the two of us, right? How do you know, and how do you make sure that you are truly giving those stakeholders what they need?
That's a good question, man. That's an area I struggle with. Yeah. And so what really required, and I had to make some really big changes to what I was doing on a daily basis, and have that intention. Because yes, I was one of those saying, where's my time going? Where's my time going? And when I really dissected, I was like, holy shit, look how much time I'm wasting here. But it also came down to checking my fucking ego at the door and having those conversations and putting expectations. So what I did was I actually had had those conversations, and it was very simple. Hey, expectations. At dinner, put your phone away. Yeah. Before bed, hey, let's just hang out. Let's talk, catch up on the day. It wasn't like I had to take 24 hours a day and 12 hours had to be to that. And sometimes that's our own mindset, is like, that's work-life balance. No, it's not. Okay. Also, having said that, it comes down to communication.
Yeah.
And self-awareness. And there's a lot of things I've realized now with my self-awareness. And again, it's my check boxes, right? I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, right? Everything's related to one thing. It's all related to mindset. Exercise. Why do I exercise? Well, yeah, I feel good and all their stuff. No, I'm doing this because my brain is my asset. My mind is my asset. I got to protect it and fortify it.
Yeah.
Right? remove the stress, handle stress, all those things. Like, I mean, creating a beast is what we're doing.
Yeah.
All these factors, Adam. And that's the number one struggle I think a lot of people have when they're entrepreneurs, if they're high performance individuals, is this deciding factor. Do they go and continue pursuing their dreams, or do they walk away to protect something else? And either or, you're fucked. You got to figure that out. Either way, you're fucked, because as I say, being a successful entrepreneur is a very lonely journey. Are you willing to be lonely to achieve your dreams? Or are you willing to walk away from your dreams to keep something? So you got to find that middle ground.
Yeah. So I guess there's almost an inherent conversation to be had about how do you choose your partner, right? Mm-hmm. Do they, because I'm of two mindsets here too, where like, when I think about, the idealistic partner, I actually don't have a clear picture in my mind whether that is the partner that is as actively hustling as I am, to the point where like everything is understandable to each other because you're actually on the same wavelength and you're following the same trajectory and velocity, or is it the wife or like the partner, let's just stick with partner, the partner that stays home and sort of manages that element of life, and then you come back and you sort of split up your time and you communicate a lot, and that still works out really well. And I still don't know what that partner should look like, and I don't know how you choose them. So and do they start out as one and turn into another, or go one way or another? How does this all work? And I've been in several long-term relationships, really, like medium term if we're looking at my age, but like, it was always fascinating. Like, how do we balance these things? And again, we got into this discussion with Rocky, like, I don't think there ever is balance. And I started doing this movement, and he's like, oh dude, what you're doing with your hands right now is suggesting that one equals taking the other. Right? Because I was doing like judicial scales with my hands. And he's like, no, man, it's all on a tension. It's sliding as a unit together. So like, tell me about your partner. Is she hustling with you, or is she more in her own lane and of her own, doings? Like, what is she doing?
For sure. No, I think that's a great question. And when you have, like, I love how you're going like with the balance. Anytime you have this balance, it's all about energy, and the amount of energy in it, that's where we crumble, right? As we're trying to, like, again, mindset, right? The amount of energy, we want to focus our energy on the healthy obsessions, on the things that want to go there, not that energy on, oh, fuck, now I got to worry about this at the bottom, right? So I love that analogy of using the sliding tension, because you don't have to be in direct alignment with that person at the same level on that line, okay? As long as you guys are moving in the same direction.
Yeah.
What happens is where things break down is that when you're moving ahead and someone's either staying stagnant or they're moving backwards. Okay? So the alignment has to be in the same progression in forward, leaning forward. Okay? And so for myself, I don't think I could live with someone like me, because we'll be the same way, right? Like it's like, right? So, because I'm just so programmed at a different, like, I'm just wired. I'm a high performance individual. I need someone to balance that energy, because you're going to have two individuals that are just always hustling and always forget to smell the roses on the way by, and showing you why and demonstrating why you're doing this. So for me, with my partner, it's been amazing, because this is a newer relationship for me, since I'm still in my ongoing divorce. But this is my next book, we'll call it. And we got 4 amazing children together, and that's what we've come to realize, is that my partner will never be where I'm at on that scale, and I'll never be where she's at on her scale, because we both have different, ambitions and so forth. But we have to realize is that we both want to move forward.
Yeah. I love that, dude. So I think really what you're telling me, though, is it's primarily going to be a communication game, right? And like the other person naturally has to have their own ambition and passions and drives and everything like that. But then communicating to stay together, moving as a unit is certainly possible, right?
And absolutely, Adam. And the key thing is, do not make assumptions. Just because you think they know doesn't necessarily mean they do know.
That's huge.
Assumptions kill. It's like jumping out of a plane and not checking your parachute, right?
Yeah.
That's on you. So just like in business, you have daily huddles as your team. Have a daily huddle with your partners. Your business partners will have a daily with your life partner. How long does it take?
Well, dude, that's so key. And you know what? You would never let your business go without having words exchanged about where we at, where do we want to go, what's the plan, how are we going to get there, right? These are conversations we have every day with our team members, for sure. Every single day, every morning at 8 a.m., I'm asking my guys, what happened yesterday? Okay, what did we do? What did we win with? What did we lose on? Or otherwise frame that as a lesson. Okay, what was the lesson from yesterday? What was the victory that we can teach as well? And then what are we going to do today to either make sure it's a better day and improve on it?
And I've been in your meetings too, and you always end up, well, how can I assist you? What can I do to help you?
Yeah, that's literally my last question of every single one of my one-on-ones as well with my guys. What can I do to make this easier for you? Okay, so how am I gonna lead this?
Take the same exact questions and ask your partner the same exact questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's working? What's not working? What do we have to do? How can I help you to make it easier for you?
What would you change about our process if you could change anything?
Absolutely.
Right? If you had a magic wand, what would today look like?
Yeah.
You know, if you could do anything. So I think that's really interesting. Evan Stewart also asked me, and this is kind of all sort of tying together. I love this podcast, dude, because I'm getting to talk to these really bright individuals, and I can see how all of their concepts, despite their very different backgrounds, the only thing we all have in common, I think, has been everybody's own real estate. But like, you know, everybody should own real estate. That's a given. But, you know, he was asking, like, if you lived today and that was like your only day, like if every day for the rest of your life was how you lived today, would you be happy? Would you be fulfilled? Would you be living your potential? And that's a really fascinating way to think about our relationships and our health and our business and everything else. It's like, holy shit, was my level of communication and buy-in and engagement and dedication and drive towards that element, whatever those four core things were, was that the type of dedication and thing that I would like to see every single day if it was the rest of my life? Like Groundhog Day style, would you be happy? And it's like, man, all of a sudden you're like, I should probably pick up the phone and make that call, right? I should check in on how yesterday went. And, you know, maybe there was that exchange of words, or maybe there was some kind of bad, you know, juju, and we got to go back and fix it, right? And it's so easy once we start thinking about it, but it's also so easy to think like, you know what, after this podcast, I got like 50 calls I got to make. I got to get some sales sheets out. I got to check in on the guys. I got to make sure that we've got 15 more offers going out today, and probably have to write them after underwriting them. And it's like, oh my God. And then I've got a $2 million mortgage that I'm firming up from yesterday that I got to think about, like, is that building condition report going in? And then all of a sudden you forget about that conversation yesterday that had tension built into it, you know, that probably left one or both of us in a bad spot mentally, right? Like thinking about it, distracting. And probably today it was still on the mind, because I know I woke up thinking about that conversation yesterday and I was like, son of a bitch, I got to fix that. And I still haven't done it, dude. And it's 1 p.m. today.
There you go.
But why? Because I got busy. Busy.
Yeah, it has to be one of your non-negotiables. On your passion box should be, I need to fix this. Oh, I need to make a contact or whatever. And the key thing with all of this and everything we're doing when we talk about intention is success without fulfillment is failure.
Yeah, dude.
Success without fulfillment, right? So someone could say, oh, I'm in a happy marriage. We've been married for 40 years. Are you guys fulfilled?
Yeah. Yeah, well,
if not, this is marriage is a failure. Exactly. It just becomes, it's cheaper to keep her. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's not success. Right? And that's a key thing. And, you know, I can't remember if we shared this on the podcast we had done together before, but David Goggins says it best. He talks about this taking souls, right? And it's like, You know, he gives the analogy of Rocky Balboa and first Rocky, right? The guy is just relentless, just does not stay down. Even his trainer, they're all saying, stay down, stay down, stay down. And he gets up again, and Apollo Creed just looks at him saying, fuck me, this guy just will not back down. And that moment his eyes change and you just sort of see his shoulders shrug is the moment Rocky took his soul. He was fucking done. So what I say about taking souls is look yourself in the mirror. Did you take yesterday's soul? If you did it, then yesterday took your soul. It's on you. There's no one else you can blame. This fire happened. I still got my shit done. And I kid you not, I'm such an overachiever. And through accountability groups, I actually had one line that was one thing I had to take care of. And I said, I think I'm forgetting something. This was before bed. It was 11:30 at night. I'm like, I'm beat because I wake up every day at 4:45 in the morning. I go, fuck, I didn't do it. And I made sure it was done. It was simple. Get it done? Yeah, I got it done. It was a 1-minute job. I set to set something up. I set to set something up with this business that we're building. And it was like, that would have ruined my night. I would have been so fucking pissed. Yeah.
Well, dude, it's those little things too that actually matter, right? If it was worth making the list, it was important enough to get done. And I think that's what people got to look at as well. It's like, okay, so I started, this is bringing me into my one-on-one today with one of my guys. We were having the discussion, and I think we might have talked about it before, or I've definitely talked about it on here before, but it's well worth revisiting. The idea that I think winning and like success really begins with the shit that we tell ourselves is important that we need to do, and then whether or not you follow through on that commitment. Because the minute you start lying to yourself, right? Because that's what you've done. I said this was important. I said I was going to do it. I put it on my list of things that I'm going to do. The minute you don't do that thing, you have begun taking steps backwards and you've gotten off the path of winning. But the more you can tell yourself that these things are important and cross them off the list, the more comfortable your brain and subconscious self become with victory. And the more you experience victory, the better you get at it. And I was just realizing this as we were talking about the future of our company in the last few days. There's going to be another couple of spin-off companies that are very in line with what we're doing. And it's going to be very natural for these things to just all of a sudden look like overnight successes as well. And it's because we're getting used to winning. We're getting used to being the best and we're getting good at it. And if you can be good at winning, like, why wouldn't you want to be better at winning than you are at losing? Because the more you start getting good at losing, you become a fucking loser. And what's worse?
So that's the thing, and that's part of my mindset is I'm the fucking underdog. I'm the fucking underdog. I'm the underdog. Because what happens when you become champion, you become complacency. There's complacency. Right. And complacency is what kills.
It's a death wish.
It's a death wish. What's taken you to where you are today is not going to be what you need to take you to that next level over the next 6 months. The moment you feel that's going to take you, whatever you're doing right now is going to take you for the next 6 months for your goals, you're fucked, man.
Yeah, you're literally going to be on a flat curve, right?
Or like that's how you
flatten the curve. Do nothing.
Do nothing. You know what? And you're gonna fall back. That's why I always say I'm leaning forward. There's no fucking way in hell I'm going back.
Yeah. No, dude, it's not even possible for guys like us. Like the idea that there is some sort of escape ladder, that there's some kind of corporate job or something out there that would replace our income and what we do with our time right now. Can you even imagine that? If you told me that I would get paid twice as much as I do today, even after taxes, 5 times as much, I would not take it. I literally wouldn't take it, because the idea of being a fucking slave in somebody else's system right now is so devastating to me. And the idea of and maybe it's not even that type of a situation where you're a slave to somebody else's wishes, but like just the idea of not doing what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like every single day, day in and day out, I do what I want to do, which is how I know I'm on the right path. Right? That's how I know that like I'm doing the activities that are meaningful to me. And it's probably a great time for reflection whenever you don't feel that way. Like whenever there's something on your plate that feels like, man, I really wish I didn't have to do this. Okay, don't. what's going to happen? What are the repercussions? What if you just pay somebody else to do it? What if you just stop doing that activity altogether?
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to do? Is it going to free up a shitload of bandwidth and let you achieve a bunch more other things that you're really passionate about? And like, maybe that's how you get to the next level, right? Is killing the babies, right? It's an unsympathetic term, but like, kill your babies, man. Like, are there things that you are working on that aren't important anymore, that are not self-serving to get you to the next level? They're not serving your business. They're not serving your relationships. They're not serving your mindset. They're not serving your health and fitness, right? If we look at it with those 4 buckets still on top of mind, you know, what is this activity serving and why am I doing it? It's back again to first principles. Why do I do anything the way that I do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Really
I agree.
fascinating, Mark. I'm loving this discussion, man, because this kind of stuff fires me up. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is the stuff where I just get so pumped because I know that anybody can do this stuff, right? You want to lose 30 pounds? I can guarantee you will lose that weight by just simply starting to make good decisions and then consistently acting on that behavior over time.
Well, a major part of that decision is changing the environment you're in. When I say change the environment, I'm not talking about your
Yes.
house. It's the people you're around. It's the environment, the stuff you're watching on TV. If you're watching the stuff you're reading, like in my household, we canceled cable. COVID happened, canceled cable.
Yeah.
My coffee table, everywhere I look, there's a fucking book on something with personal development,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I got the studio here. I got my window behind me. I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's actually like marker on the wall up there. Like I'm always going. But what's happening is because I've taken control of my environment, what's
Yeah.
happening now is my children are now in that environment and they're
Yeah.
seeing it as well, right? Removing language, removing words that are actually just like the words of your agreement, right? I mean, you say these words to yourself. I mean, so I remove the words, I will try, eventually, one day. Either you're doing it
Yeah.
or you don't, right? So, and it comes down to that environment. And then going back to that sustainability that you mentioned prior to, you need the environment to be changed. I left a marriage after, almost 16 years because the environment. I left a company I worked for 21 years because the environment. So I may have less now than I did with that, just with divorce and all that kind of stuff. But I'm the richest motherfucker right now
Right?
because I
How
found
good do you feel, dude? Look
I
at
feel
you.
fucking amazing, right? Like I'm in this zone, and I'm gravitating. Like it's just crazy. And it's like bring it. Like what else? I mean, I've hit rock bottom, right? I've lost almost everything with all the divorce and that kind of stuff. I look at all that stuff, but those are actually like belts for me, man. Those are fucking medals of honor, man, because I fought through them. The night I spent behind bars was amazing. I look back at that because I was the safest person. No one could fucking hurt me. And I told myself, enough's enough. And yeah, I could say there was false allegations, and yes, they were all dropped, but it was my fault I was there. It was my fault I was in an unhappy marriage. It was my fault that I was working for a company for 21 years and in a toxic relationship. It's all my fucking fault because I didn't change my environment.
Dude, I think the minute we take ownership for these things in our environment, what's happening around us, like the minute we stop being the victim or like being just like a part of the stream that's flowing, right? Like the minute we consciously decide on what we want our future to look like and what we want to do with our lives and ourselves, I think it's a really empowering moment where then you get to decide like, hey, I want this for my future and this is how I see it going. And I think it's really interesting. And I think more people need to become out, maybe not necessarily outward, but I think they need to be more comfortable with just being vulnerable, knowing that they can make mistakes and knowing that a divorce is traditionally seen as like this really bad event where like you've technically failed the other person and you failed your family, your kids, whatever. But I think that we all deep down know, when shit's not going right and it can't be improved, or like, you know, if you've put the effort in, you've tried to communicate and things just aren't working out, why wouldn't it be acceptable to make the change?
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge victory. That is a huge victory for yourself. And I think another thing that gets a lot of flack lately, and with the way the world's like tense right now and like going crazy, but I think a lot of people get really tense and really touchy about the subject of selfishness. But let me tell you right now, if you are selfish, if you are putting your mask on before you put on your kid's mask, you will be there to be able to give to them. I think if we're not selfish in making those decisions, hey, this might impact my family. Hey, this might impact their life. Hey, this might hurt. This might hurt really bad, right? Because I've done this too, right? I ended a relationship with like probably one of the coolest girls I've ever met. And she's freaking awesome. And today she's still killing it. We're still great friends. But I had to do that for me in that moment. And it sucked. It fucking hurt so bad. And I know it hurt her even worse than it hurt me, right? But making that decision immediately leveled both of us up by a factor, by a huge multiple. And you know what? That's amazing. That's beautiful. And giving ourselves that freedom and giving ourselves that self worth and that ability to maneuver on our own and like do what's best for us is truly going to unlock, if you're a good person, the gift of abundance and the gift of being able to give back to your friends, family, and everybody involved, and your business and everything. So I really just hate that there's such a stigma on, you know, divorce and like failing or like pivoting businesses, right? If your business is not running and serving you the way it should be and the way that you need it to be to match your goals, kill it. Like, yeah, it's going to impact people. There might be people that lose jobs. There might be impacts that are bigger than you, but guess what? You will build another. You will have another relationship where you are able to get what you need. And when you're getting what you need, like for me, when I'm happy, I'm 100% giving. 100%. Like I'm crazy all in. When I'm unhappy, I retreat. I go to a different kind of selfishness. It's not good though. It's not a healthy selfishness.
Well, that's the thing I was going to say. Like, let's touch on selfishness. There's two types. There's like obsession. There's healthy obsession, unhealthy obsession, right? Then there's healthy selfishness and there's unhealthy selfishness. When I look at unhealthy selfishness, that's when people want to fuck people over for their own servitude and their own gratification. Then there's selfishness saying, hey, I want to help Hungarian Experiment blow out the doors of all the socks. I'm going to be selfish and making sure that he achieves that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to be selfish and focus on my mindset. I'm going to be, and that's, I think that's that stigma, whatever way, being selfish. Everybody should be selfish. Everybody, as long as it's healthy and it's in alignment of where they want to go. Right? It's such an important point, and that was really the game changer for me. Is I had to start doing things for me.
Yeah, but how much better is your relationship now, right? How much better is your quality of life, your happiness, your drive, your productivity, everything?
Well, first things first, I need to. My relationship with myself has to be like top notch. If my relationship with myself is not, my relationships with everybody else aren't going to do well. Right? So as you can tell, just the way I speak from my passion, like I'm fucking there, right? And I'm seeing now the collateral effect of it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the compounding, man, that happens when we're able to give ourselves what we need is just so beautiful. So, man, I honestly think like let's just wrap it up at that. I think that's amazing. Give yourself the things you need. Focus on the 4 buckets that Mark was talking about. And I think you said it was like a Sean Whalen concept, but like, let's really focus on these things, right? Like
the core 4.
The core 4. And like, it all makes so much sense. Your mindset, your body, right? Your physical body, your relationships, and then your business. I think a lot of people listening to this are real estate investors or business owners or want to be real estate investors and business owners, or maybe you're just working in a job and you're just fascinating at what people are doing. But I think it's time that all of us, in the last few episodes, have been very spiritual and less about like the crazy talk that like Mina got into with me with like, hey, let's just make a lot of money because
Mm-hmm.
why the hell not? It's a game, right? But I think that there's time to reflect, set your why up, really figure out what it is that you want, live out of the calendar so that you are able to find the time and prioritize the things that are important to you. But once you know what's important to you, it's really easy to like figure out how to prioritize it and then make it all happen in the calendar and track it and set up those cues, set up those things and communicate like hell, right? I really, I'm so, I'm so optimistic that there's a way that you can have everything. You can have any level of wealth that you want. You can have any level of depth in your relationships, whether that's professional or personal or romantic, right? Friends and family, all the same, and inside your organizations. And then I think you can also be fucking jacked, right? You can be healthy and do this all at the same time. You don't need to be overweight because you work so much on your business and you know you're alone because you can't have a relationship because you're so invested in the business that there's no time for your body or your relationships. Like, I don't think that's the case. And every person on this podcast has agreed with me. So, you know, am I going to get to episode 200 and find out that, yeah, the whole time all we had to do was communicate and sleep well and eat well and do the things that were good for us and you know, give back and live with intention? I think so. But it's going to be a cool ride learning all these different businesses and what everybody else is doing at the same time. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really fascinated, man. Thank you so much, Mark, for coming on today. If anybody doesn't already follow, subscribe, and everything like that to the 7-2 Real Estate Investor, he's built a seriously wicked brand about a seriously bad hand in life, right? So that's the story with 7-2, is that it's the worst hand inherently you can pick up on the on poker. And once you get that hand, you got to make a decision, right? Take it into your own hands. Be and live with extreme ownership. It's up to you. You're not the victim.
Mm-hmm.
You are not the victim of the circumstance and environment around you, but you are making a choice to stay in it if you do. So, Mark, is there anything we can do to help you, to contribute to you, to give back to you?
You know what? Just do what you're doing, man. I love the fact that you've started this. I had to kick you out of the bird's nest to make it happen, and you know you're making it happen. So this for me, you doing this fits within my personal mission, which is to help others through real estate investing, through mindset, achieve their dreams. So the fact you're doing this is everything to me.
I love it, man. All right. Well, thank you so much, dude. I really do appreciate it. This has been Adam J.D. Martin and the 7-2 Real Estate Investor on Mic'd Up Millionaires. Thank you so much. If you guys made it to this point, I know you're as crazy as both of us. So we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. I'm not exactly sure who's going to be next. I think I lied to you or fibbed to you at the very least and said Mike Van Hout would be number 4. But he is, in fact, going to be number 5. So very excited. I can't wait to get into the discussions with Mike. I mean, the guy's an absolute killer. He just started a dealership for exotic cars. He's got, you know, well over 100 doors of real estate, and he's got a roofing company and all sorts of business ventures that make me seem like a freaking lazy slob. So I cannot wait to talk to Mike on the podcast. And again, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. I will see you all on the next episode.